History remembers the headlines. We find the bylines. This is the unsung. The photograph is iconic. Martin Luther King Jr. at the Lincoln Memorial, speaking to a sea of 250,000 people on August 28, 1963. The speech, I Have a Dream. The event, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It's an image etched into the American consciousness, a symbol of hope and a turning point in history. But behind that photograph, out of frame, stood the man who conceived the march, secured the permits, organized the buses, trained the marshals, and ensured its historic peacefulness. Bayard Rustin, a master strategist, a logistical genius, and a lifelong advocate for justice. Rustin was the civil rights movement's most essential organizer and its most overlooked architect. So how was a man of his indispensable role systematically erased from the story he helped write? Bayard Rustin was born in 1912 in Westchester, Pennsylvania, into a family that valued peace and equality. Raised by his grandparents, he grew up surrounded by the Quaker principles of nonviolence and social justice. From an early age, he was a brilliant and charismatic figure, unafraid to challenge the status quo. In high school, he staged a one-man sit-in at a segregated movie theater. This was just the beginning. Through the 1930s and 40s, he traveled the world, studying peaceful resistance tactics in India with followers of Gandhi and becoming a leading voice for civil rights and pacifism in the United States. He wasn't just a theorist. He was a practitioner. He was arrested multiple times for protesting segregation and for being a conscientious objector during World War II. He developed a deep, practical understanding of protest strategy, learning what worked and what didn't on the front lines. In 1956, this expertise led him to Montgomery, Alabama. A bus boycott was underway, led by a young, charismatic pastor named Martin Luther King Jr. While King had the moral vision and the powerful oratory, he was still new to the mechanics of large-scale, nonviolent protest. It was Rustin who mentored him, introducing King to the methods of organized peaceful resistance that would become the backbone of the entire civil rights movement. He taught King how to protect himself, how to organize carpools to sustain the boycott, and how to frame the struggle in the powerful language of nonviolent direct action. This partnership would shape the course of American history. Rustin's pivotal contribution, his magnum opus, was the orchestration of the 1963 March on Washington. To call this a challenge is a massive understatement. Imagine trying to bring 250,000 people to the nation's capital for a single day, in an era before the internet, before cell phones, before social media. The sheer logistics were mind-boggling. Rustin, operating out of a small, bustling headquarters in Harlem, coordinated over 2,000 chartered buses and 21 chartered trains. He meticulously planned arrival times and parking locations to avoid a logistical nightmare. He worked with city officials to arrange for portable toilets, dozens of drinking fountains, and 24 first aid stations, staffed with doctors and nurses. He even thought about what people would eat, preparing 80,000 boxed lunches, each with a cheese sandwich, a slice of pound cake, and an apple. Every single detail was considered, but his genius wasn't just logistical. It was strategic. He insisted the march be called For Jobs and Freedom. This was a crucial decision. It brilliantly linked the fight for racial justice with the struggle for economic justice, broadening the march's appeal and highlighting the deep-seated inequalities that went beyond segregation. This framing made it a movement for all Americans who believed in fairness and opportunity. To ensure the day remained peaceful, a core principle of the movement, Rustin recruited and trained a force of 4,000 volunteer marshals. He taught them how to de-escalate tension, how to manage crowds, and how to maintain order with quiet authority, not force. He navigated a complex political landscape, negotiating with skeptical government officials, coordinating with leaders from dozens of different civil rights, labor, and religious organizations, and holding the fragile coalition together. He was the conductor of a symphony for social change. Yet, for all this work, Rustin remained in the shadows. He was the chief architect, but he agreed to a less visible public role. Philip Randolph, the elder statesman of the movement, was named the official director of the march, while Rustin took the title of deputy director. This was a painful but necessary compromise. It was a strategic decision to protect the march from its critics, allowing others to take the spotlight while he masterfully managed the intricate details from behind the scenes. On the day of the march, while the world's attention was on the speakers at the Lincoln Memorial, Rustin was on the ground, clipboard in hand, ensuring his meticulous plan unfolded flawlessly. So why was he erased? The reasons are complex, rooted in the social prejudice of the era and the simplification of history over time. Rustin was an openly gay man in a time of intense homophobia. He also had past associations with communist groups from his youth, which made him a target during the Cold War. Some leaders within the civil rights movement itself feared that these aspects of his life would be used by opponents to discredit their cause. The cultural atmosphere of the early 1960s was one of conformity, and Rustin was a man who broke every mold. This fear led to his deliberate marginalization. It was a strategic, if heartbreaking, choice by some to keep him out of the public eye to protect the movement. As the story of the civil rights movement was told and retold, it was often streamlined into a simpler narrative. Textbooks and documentaries focused on a few charismatic figureheads, making it easier for the public to digest. The complex, messy, and collaborative reality of the movement was often lost. Organizers, strategists, and the thousands of grassroots activists who made it all possible, people like Bayard Rustin, were frequently left out. It took decades for historians and institutions to begin correcting the record, to look beyond the podium and see the masterful organizer who built the stage. In his later years, Rustin never stopped fighting. He continued to advocate for human rights around the globe, championing the rights of refugees, workers, and all marginalized people. He saw the interconnectedness of all struggles for justice, drawing clear lines between racial equality, economic fairness, and the fundamental dignity of all people. He passed away in 1987. It was NT until 2013 that he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. Today, Bayard Rustin is increasingly recognized as a foundational figure, a tactical genius whose strategic vision made some of the 20th century's most important moments possible. His life is a powerful reminder that behind every great movement are the great organizers, the unsung strategists who turn a dream into a reality. Who are other behind-the-scenes strategists whose work has been overlooked? Share their stories in the comments below. And if you believe in finding the bylines behind the headlines, subscribe to the Unsung. Thanks for watching.